Di awal aja. Everyone. Oh, aja. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in my presentation. I'm so glad to see you all. Today we are going, and firstly, I would like introducing myself and my partner. I am Anafila. My partner is Alfil Sain, Desi Permata Al-Zahri, Maria Antonia Masu, Robin Adian. Let's get started. First, next. First, what is excretory system? The excretory system is the process of removing metabolic waste products that are no longer used by the body. The substance can be in the form of carbon dioxide, urine, urea, sweat, and other compounds that are toxic or poison. Next. What is an example of excretion? The discharge of sweat from the body, urination, and exhale. Next. One kidney. Kidneys become one of the organs in the excretory system by excreting urine. Urine is water along with metabolic waste substances released by the body. Residual substances in the urine are substances that are filtered from the blood. Next. Liver. As an organ that plays a role in the excretory system, the liver functions to remodel old or damaged red cells to produce bilirubin, which is toxic. Because it is toxic, bilirubin must be processed to be excreted from the body, one of which is excreted together with urine. Next. Skin. The function of the skin as an organ of the excretory system is to excrete sweat, which contains aqueous, water, mineral salt, and a small amount of nitrogenous waste such as urea, which can poison the body. Sweat usually comes out when we do activities such as excreting when we are hot. Next. For lungs, the function of the lungs as an excretion organ is to excrete CO2. The air exhaled by humans contains 3% of carbon dioxide, and the total amount of air exhaled by the body is 350 to 600 liters of air per day. CO2 gas is harmful to the body if it remains in the body. Even so, some can still be used to maintain a stable pH in the blood. Next. Function of the part of the urinary system. Urine is liquid waste consisting of water, salt, urea, uric acid, as well as waste product from the body metabolism. For normal urination, all the parts of the urinary system need to work together in right order. Kidney. The human body has a pair of kidneys, which are located in the left and right back, just below the ribs. Each one is the side of first. The main function of the kidneys is to regulate the amount of water and salt in the blood, filter waste substances or the rest of the body's metabolism, and make hormones that help control blood pressure. Ureter. The ureter are part of the urinary system, which are small tubes made up of many muscles. This is part that carries urine from each kidney to your bladder. Next. Bladder. This organ is located in the pelvic cavity. The bladder is in charge of storing urine. If the bladder is filled with urine, there will be an urge to urinate. Urethra. The urethra, or in colloquial language, is called the is part of the urinary system in the form section between.
Oke, baik, berhubung Aan ada kendala jaringan, akan saya lanjutkan.
Aan keluar ya?
Lanjut aja bisa nggak sih?
Yang berikutnya urethra. The urethra, or in colloquial language, it's called the urinary tract, is part of the urinary system in the form of a channel that connects the bladder to the outside of the body. The urethra in men is about 20 centimeter long, while the urethra in women is about 4 centimeter. In the section between the bladder and urethra, there is a ring of muscle or sphincter, which is in charge of keeping urine from leaking. Yang berikutnya, what is the process of urine formation? A. Filtrasi. The formation of urine begins with blood flowing through the renal afferent arteries and entering the glomerulus, which is composed of blood capillaries. When blood enters the glomerulus, the blood vessels which passes water and substances. They have a small size out through the capillary pores and product filter. The filter liquid is composed of uridine, urea, glucose, water, amino acid, lone salts, sodium, potassium, calcium, and chlorine. The filter is the temporarily stored in woman capsule and is called primary urine. This stage of primary urine formation is called the filtration stage. Meanwhile, blood and proteins remain in the blood capillaries because they cannot penetrate the pores of the glomerulus. B. Reabsorption stage. The primary urine form and the filtration stage enter the proximal tubule. In the occurs the process of the reabsorption of substances that are still needed by the body. Reabsorption stage. Glucose, amino acid, potassium ions, and substances they are still needed by the body are also transferred into the cells, then into the blood capillaries in the kidneys. Meanwhile, only a small amount of urine reabsorbed.
The fluid that results from the reabsorption process is called secondary urine, which contains water, salt, urea, or which gives urine its odor, and urobilin, or which gives urine its yellow color. Secondary urine from the reabsorption process that flows into the loop of handling water in the secondary urine is also continuously reabsorbed.
C. Augmentation is the last stage of the urine formation process in the human body. So, as mentioned about substances, they are not needed by the body, will be secreted. That is where they are. Augmentation occurs in the distal convoluted tubule and collecting tubules as a temporary stored area for urine. At this stage, there are still reabsorption of vital nickel, salts, and urine, so that actual urine is formed, which must be excreted by the body. Part 2, endocrine system. What is the endocrine system? Endocrine system is made up of separate organs called glands. These glands located all over your body prepare and secrete proteins and hormones. Hormones are chemicals that coordinate different functions in your body by carrying messages through your blood to your organs, skin, muscles, and other tissues. These signals tell your body what to do and when to do it. The main role of the endocrine system is to relay chemical messages to the body in conjunction with the nervous system. These chemical messages help control physiological processes such as nutrient absorption of etc. Two, many glands exist in the body that secrete endocrine hormone. Among these are the hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid, pancreas, and adrenal glands. One, hypophyseal gland. The hypothalamus is the control center for body functions and the nervous system to keep our body condition always constant and stable. The hypothalamus is located just below the thalamus above the pituitary gland. The hypothalamus is very small, about the size of an almond, and weighs about 1% of the brain's weight. Two, hypophyseal gland. It is also called the master of gland because it produces various hormones that regulate the activities of other glands. The size of pin is a protection from the lower part of the hypothalamus at the base of the brain collected at the base of the skull, which plays an important role in the secretion of hormones from all endocrine organs. Okay, the next slide is this.
Anterior pituitary adenohypophysis. The anterior pituitary produces hormones that affect the breast, adrenal, thyroid, ovaries, and testes. In addition to several other hormones, the pituitary, the anterior receives signal from the cellular in the brain. Next.
Udah ya guys, nanti lagi.
Next. Udah itu.
Ini udah. Udah. Posterior pituitary neurohypophysis. The main gland affected by the posterior or back pituitary is the kidney. Posterior pituitary signates from magnecellular neurons in the brain. The posterior pituitary store glands and release hormones such as excitation antidiuretic hormone ADH. Next, thyroid gland. The gland, which is located in the lower neck, is attached to the larynx to the right in front of the trachea and is attached to the wall of the larynx. Consists of two lobes, right lobe and left lobe, interconnected. Each lobe 2 cm, thin 4 cm, long and 2.5 cm wide formation, depend on the amount of exogenous iodine that enters the body. The main source for maintaining the balance of iodine in food and drinking water. Next. Hormone produced by the thyroid gland. Direction affects growth, development, and differentiation of body tissues. Calcitrogen inflammation in converting tissue. Thyroidekinin affects cell metabolism, oxidation in body cell, and body heat prediction. Next. Parathyroid glands. Located on the membrane that covers thyroid gland. Three are two parts for pieces located behind each lobe of the thyroid gland, two on the left and two on the right. The size of each gland is approximately 5 times 3 and to the network. Hormone produced by the thyroid gland. Hormone 50H plays in regulating the use of calcium in tissues plays a role in controlling calcium levels in blood. Adrenal glands, flagellates found in the upper parts of the kidney, weigh approximately 5 to 9 grams of two pieces according to the number of kidneys. Consists of two parts, namely the middle part cortex, which comes from the cell adrenal. The cortex produces hormones that are categorized as steroid hormone, while the medulla produces equal blood in the blood inflammatory response to medulla adrenal produce hormones to epinephrine and norepinephrine. This hormone regulates rate, heart muscle contraction, blood pressure, and blood glucose levels. Next, pancreas gland. The pancreas is a rather long organ located retroperitoneal in the upper abdomen in front of the one and two lumbar vertebrae. The head of pancreas lies close to the duodenum, while the tail extends to the spleen. The pancreas produces two glands, namely endocrine gland and excretory gland. As this endocrine part of cell that from eyelids of larynx of insect secretor to throughout the pancreas. In the human body, 3 or 1 to million cured of larynx are distinguished by crenulation and staining. Half of these cells secrete the hormone insulin. Next. A hormone produced by the pancreas gland. Insulin, a small protein consisting of two chains of amino acids, which are linked to each other by the isolate bonds. Before it can function, it must behind to a large receptor protein in the cell membrane. Insulin secretion is controlled by blood glucose level. Excessive blood glucose level will stimulate insulin secretion and when glucose levels are normal or low, mental secretion decreases. The next slide is
Okay, in the ventilator when I can the gland produce the from the is not valid renal section to have the functions and in regulating sexual activity and human reproduction. Ini regulate personal rated by visibly like secretes melatonin and other similar substances through the bloodstream or the ventricular flight the anterior gland and of gonadotropin hormones and the gonad because blockade and ten invalid. Next, thymus gland. The thymus gland is located in the mediastinal cavity behind the stump in the thoracic cavity about the of before the color is red and consists of two bulbs. In nebulous, it smile and above the says increases after ado adolescence between gram and as adult with this organ is part of both the lymphatic system, which makes up a major part of the immune system, and the endocrine system, which the gland produce hormones. Next, gonadic gland. Gonadic gland, the gonads are divided into gonads in women and gonads in men. The gonads in women are the ovaries, while the gonads in are the the produced by this gland can be seen in the following interroga ovi. The ovaries are and of serotype contain a class with are necessary for reproduction and so produce acto and testosterone. Te- testes. The testes are in that high as the male body. They produce testosterone and sperm. Hemoglobin.
Body pants. The human body is made of an eye, head, neck, torso, two arms, and two legs. The average height of an adult human is about to tail. The human body is made to stand erect while on to felt use the arms to carry and lift and has opposable thumbs able to grasp. The adult the adult body is made of trillion cells, bones, muscles, and internal organs. Three and main system in the human circul- circulatory system, helps blood vessels, respiro- respiratory system, nose, the triste lungs, immune system, many types of protein, class organs, tissues, skeletal system, one is excretory system, lung, intestine, kidneys, urinary system, bladder, kidneys, muscular system, muscles, endocrine system, glands, digestive system, mouth, nervous system, breath, spinal, reproductive system, male and female reproductive organs. Next. Every square inch of the human body has about million skin cells. Every about 1 billion must be related. The average human head has about has the 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 circulatory system of arteries, veins, and capillaries is about billion steam is an average lifting. Three are both tested bone on the surface of the tongue, in the throat, and on the roof of the mouth. The strongest muscle in the body is the tongue. The human excretes enough pressure when in puff onto the to squeeze blood fit. When you sneeze, the all bodily function stop. Even you have you blink often teams again. The human when weighs about 3 pounds. Next, it takes about second for blood kill to get to title the whole body. Only of the population are left-handed. One for the bones in your body are in your fat. The average for person of us asleep is asleep in 7 minutes. Children tend to go faster in the sprint. The most sensitive finger of all and the index finger.
Nonton video langsung. Then let's watch.
Mechanism of urine formation. Urine is continuously formed by each nephron, and the processes involved in the formation of urine are glomerular ultrafiltration, tubular resorption, and tubular secretion. How is urine formed? Urine is formed by three processes in the nephrons. They are filtration, reabsorption, and secretion. In glomerular filtration, the glomerulus filters the water and other salt substances from the plasma of the blood. This results in an increased blood pressure, which forces the plasma like fluid from the blood into the Bowman's capsule, and into the tubules. The fluid or filtrate includes many positive and negative ions of many elements. The filtrate does not have any proteins or red blood cells, which are too large to pass through capillary membranes. In tubular reabsorption, substances are transported out of the tubules and back into the blood of the peritubular capillaries. Reabsorption takes place in the proximal tubule, the loop of Henle, and distal tubule. The major part of the reabsorption occurs in the proximal tubule. About 15% of water is reabsorbed back into the stream. The process is regulated by the hormone vasopressin and aldosterone. In tubular secretion, substances move from the plasma in the pertubular capillaries back into the filtrate and the renal tubules. The proximal tubule secretes creatinine and histamine, and the distal tubule and the collecting duct secretes potassium into the filtrate. All tubules secrete hydrogen ions to regulate the pH of the body fluids. The filtrate is now called urine. Urine is about 95% of water, 5% of solutes of urea, uric acid, amino acids, and electrolytes. The daily production is about 0.6 to 2.5 liters per day. Urine production below 30 ml per hour indicates the possibility of a kidney failure.
Welcome to Mumu Math and Science. In this video, you will
Proses
learn
ini
how the
dinamakan
lungs and
ekspirasi.
diaphragm work together
Di sini
to
ekspirasi
bring
juga merupakan
oxygen
proses
into the
menghembuskan
lungs and
nafas
remove
atau
carbon dioxide out.
pengeluaran
The
karbon
diaphragm is a
dioksida.
large muscle that is found under
Proses
the
ini
lung.
dimulai dari otot
Your lungs are
diafragma
actually composed of
berelaksasi
millions of tiny
dan
air
otot
sacs
dinding
that
perut
depend on the
berkontraksi
diaphragm in order to inflate and
sehingga
deflate.
menyebabkan diafragma
Your rib cage
terangkat
also helps
dan
out by
melengkung,
having cartilage,
menekan rongga
which
dada.
allows the rib cage to expand.
Kemudian volume rongga
When
dada
you take a
mengecil
deep breath, your
dan
diaphragm
tekanannya
moves
meningkat
down,
sehingga
and a
udara
low-pressure
dalam
area
paru-paru
is
keluar.
created, and air flows into your nose and mouth. As air enters the nose and mouth, it enters into the nasal passages. Your nose and nasal passages have tiny hairs called cilia and mucus that help filter out dirt and pollen from the air. The air next moves to the pharynx, which is located at the back of the mouth. From the pharynx, it moves to the larynx, which is commonly called the voice box. The voice box makes sound when air passes over the vocal cords. The epiglottis is a flap of connective tissue that covers over the larynx during breathing. It stands open during breathing to allow air into the larynx, but during swallowing, it closes to prevent choking on food. From the larynx, air travels to the trachea, which is a rigid tube made of cartilage. The trachea leads into two tubes called the left and right bronchus. These tubes continue to branch until you reach a tiny air sac called an alveoli. At the alveoli, oxygen diffuses into the capillaries and carbon dioxide diffuses into the alveoli and is exhaled. As you exhale, the diaphragm moves upward and carbon dioxide and some air flows out. So there we go, how the lungs and diaphragm work together in order to allow you to breathe. Thanks for watching, and Mumu Math uploads a new math and science video every day.
The finish line's in sight, and you put on
Proses
an extra
pembentukan
burst of
keringat.
speed.
Di
As
sini
your
kita
legs
bisa
pick up the
lihat
pace, your breathing
pembentukan
gets deeper,
keringat
your heart pounds
bermula
faster,
ketika
and sweat pours
olahraga
over
atau
your
beraktivitas fisik
How
yang
does this
menguras
substance
tenaga
suddenly
sehingga suhu
materialize,
tubuh
and what
seseorang
exactly is its
akan
purpose?
meningkat. Pada saat kita berolahraga, hipotalamus bagian otak yang berfungsi sebagai pengatur suhu tubuh akan mengirim sinyal kepada sistem saraf untuk merangsang kelenjar ekrin untuk memproduksi keringat. Nantinya keringat yang telah dihasilkan akan keluar melalui pori-pori kulit dan menguap. Suhu tubuh pun perlahan kembali menjadi normal. Cairan yang keluar saat tubuh berkeringat itu sebagian besar diproduksi oleh kelenjar ekrin. Kelenjar ini ditemukan pada hampir seluruh bagian tubuh, termasuk telapak tangan dan kaki, dahi, pipi, dan ketiak.
The harder mitochondria work to supply your body with energy. All this work comes at a cost, though. As the cells break down the ATP, they release heat. The heat stimulates temperature sensors throughout your body. Those receptors detect the excess heat being produced by your muscle cells and communicate that information to the hypothalamus, which regulates body temperature. The hypothalamus responds by sending signals out through the sympathetic nervous system to the sweat glands in your skin. These are distributed all over the body with especially high concentrations on the palms of your hands, the soles of your feet, and on your head. When a sweat gland first receives the signal, the fluid surrounding the cells in its coiled base contains high amounts of sodium and chloride. The cells pump these ions into a hollow tube that runs through the sweat gland. Then, because it's saltier inside the tube than outside, water moves into the tube by osmosis. As what's called the primary secretion builds up in the bottom of the tube, water pressure pushes it up into the long, straight part of the duct. Before it seeps onto the skin, cells lining the tube will reclaim as much salt as possible so the process can continue. The water in sweat absorbs your body's heat energy and then evaporates off of you when it reaches the surface, which in turn lowers your temperature. This process, known as evaporative cooling, was an important adaptation for our ancestors. This cooling effect isn't only helpful during exercise. We sweat in many other scenarios too. Eating particularly spicy food makes some people sweat profusely from their faces. That happens because spices trigger the same neural response in the brain that activates temperature receptors, which usually respond to increased heat. Sweating is also part of the fight or flight response, stimulated by stressful scenarios like asking someone on a date or interviewing for a job. This happens because adrenaline stimulates muscle activity and causes blood vessels to widen. Two responses that increase heat and trigger the sweating response. And sweating also occurs when we get sick. When we're feverish, we sweat because infections stimulate the hypothalamus to increase muscle activity, which in turn releases more energy as heat. That increases your overall temperature, a protective mechanism that makes your body less habitable for infectious agents. Like with running, sweating helps your body vent that heat. When the fever's over or you've won your race, your temperature receptors sense the decrease in heat, and the hypothalamus brings your sweating response to an end. In some cases, like after a run, the hypothalamus also signals to your body that you need to replenish the water that you've oozed out. So, when you're pushing yourself to reach that next goal, you can think of sweat as your body's very own calibrator, enabling you to go that extra mile. Have you given the TED-Ed newsletter a try? If not, don't sweat it. Click here to sign up and receive the week's most unmissable videos, blog posts, and more, delivered to your inbox once a week.
That's all from us, guys. Thank you for coming in my presentation and goodbye.
Terima kasih. Foto dulu, ayo.